Man, the situation in Pakistan is outrageous. Outrageous. You see, the former Prime Minister, Imran Khan, they ousted him last year in a no-confidence vote. And ever since, they are trying everything, imaginable to disqualify him from running for Prime Minister, from participating in this year's elections. You need to understand something, man. This man, without a shred of a doubt, he is unequivocally the most popular politician in Pakistan at the moment, if not ever. Ever since he was ousted, he's been doing these huge rallies. He goes to Lahore, he goes to Rawalpindi, he goes to Karachi, he goes to Peshawar. Everywhere he goes, massive rallies, and of course in Islamabad. You can't even, man, I showed you the videos. My brain can't even process how many people are turning out for this guy. Because he has popular support, he's able to rally all these people, and he's been trying to pressure the government to just give us elections. Let the people decide. Because if the people decide, he's coming back. So you know what they're doing? They're accusing him of terrorism, of corruption. They have, I'm not exaggerating, this is the actual number. Over 150 cases, court cases, have been opened against him in the last weeks. 150. They dragged this guy down to the police station, and while he's in prison, they rearrested him and slapped him with 12 more charges. And people are seeing this video. They got so outraged. Dude, look at how they arrested this guy. Look at this video. I love how cool he is. He's like Gaddafi. Like he can't be bothered with them. He's just like, yeah, all right, I'll wait for you. Go on. Look at that. All this police, all this riot police for one guy. You would think they captured bin Laden or Hitler. What is this? Look, come on, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. And then he, getting beaten and all this stuff. No, this is not okay. This is why people were outraged. You can see who's being violent, all right? You can see what's going on. Look at that. What is that? What are you doing that to that woman?
I will be here till my last breath. There's no question of me leaving my country.
अब एक और प्लान बना है और ये मैं आप सबको बता रहा हूं, मैं अपनी अदलिया को बता रहा हूं, मैं खास तौर पे पंजाब पुलिस को बता रहा हूं। आईजी पंजाब और आईजी इस्लामाबाद, पीछे इनके हैंडलर्स, इन्होंने प्लान क्या बनाया? ज़मान पाक के बाहर या आज या कल ऑपरेशन का प्लान है, और वो क्या ऑपरेशन है?
So he's talking about how the people conspiring against him to stop him from winning the elections and participating in the elections are sending saboteurs into his rallies, into the crowds at his rallies, to kill police and then make it look like his supporters are violent.
Now, Pakistani police are still surrounding the home of the former Prime Minister, Imran Khan, in Lahore. Khan has issued a tweet saying that he expects to be re-arrested. Police say Khan is sheltering supporters who were involved in violent protests. The opposition leader's arrest last week sparked street demonstrations across Pakistan, but the Supreme Court declared his detention invalid and he was released and allowed to return home. And we can now speak to Pakistan's former Prime Minister, Imran Khan, who joins me from his home in Lahore. Thank you for your time, Mr. Khan. Now, we understand the police have surrounded your house. Can you tell us what the situation is at the moment, and can you confirm that you expect to be arrested again?
Well, police is around my house, not in as large numbers as they were last night, because last night the plan was that they said there were 40 terrorists hidden in my house, and they were going to come and grab these terrorists. So therefore, the whole area was surrounded by police. But what I did was I asked all the journalists beforehand, I said, come over to my house and see where the terrorists are. So that diffused the situation because clearly there were no terrorists. So that's when the police could not take action. But the answer to your question, do I expect to be rearrested? Yes. It could happen anytime because even though I'm on bail on everything now, the police can't arrest me on any charges because the courts have given me bail. But unfortunately, right now, the law of the jungle is prevailing. Might is right. 7,500 of my workers have been arrested. All my senior leadership has been arrested. So what will happen, I don't know. But I expect to be rearrested.
Mr. Khan, the Pakistani government says that you are sheltering some of your supporters who are accused of attacking the army. So do you reject that claim?
It is absolute nonsense. What happened was that when they illegally abducted me from the high court precincts, it was all illegal. And the way they grabbed me, they beat my lawyers, people got injured as if I was some terrorist. And those images created this demonstrations all over Pakistan because my party is by far the biggest party, federal party in Pakistan. Now, what they did was they used these mass demonstrations that took place, they perpetuated violence, which is, I don't remember such violence. They shot dead 25 people, which we already know, but there are others which we can't know because then they started arresting 7,500 workers have been arrested. We don't know what's going on. All my leadership has been arrested. So they used that pretext to crush my party because this is the election year and my party's poll in the polls, it's 70% ratings right now.
70%.
So in order to crush the party that we don't contest the elections, this is why all this is happening.
Man, you got to understand, Imran Khan is not just Pakistan's former prime minister. He is, a star cricket player. He used to play for Pakistan's team. He went to Oxford. I mean, the guy's a movie star. He's really a movie star. There's no doubt he's very charismatic. He knows how to speak to people. And I think it's really disgusting how they're trying to smear him. I don't remember the name of it, but I was watching some, a podcast. I think it was maybe from India. I don't remember, but they were basically saying that, he's a drug addict, something with sex, he's as corrupt as the people that he was trying to go after. I mean, what is this stuff? It's just like smear tactics. Do you actually have anything tangible? What wrong has he done? What act of evil has he committed that warrants him being almost assassinated? A few months ago, 6 months ago, someone tried to assassinate him. How is this acceptable that he has 150 cases opened against him in the span of a few days? What, man, he says this in an interview, but a hardened criminal wouldn't be able to commit 150 crimes in that time span. It's logistically impossible. Even if it's really so disgusting. They're throwing everything at him, including the kitchen sink, to bar him from being elected. Because in Pakistan, if you're convicted of corruption, of terrorism, you are disqualified for life from holding public office. And therefore, they would succeed in preventing his return to power. And in Pakistan is a country where it's kind of like Egypt, where the government rules and administers, but the army, you need the backing of the army to have a solid foundation and to get things done. And Pakistan has a very, very, very strong army. And when I say strong, I don't just mean that they have nuclear weapons, which they do, but that they are politically, they are a titan, and they are always, always in the equation in Pakistan's politics. It's inescapable. The ISI, their intelligence service, extraordinarily capable and powerful. Now, when he was prime minister, he was saying you shouldn't criticize them or go after them because you would fracture the country and so on. And, I can understand what he meant because he was trying to run a stable government. But the problem is that he had a few traitors that defected to the opposition and just gave those 4 votes that they needed to oust him. And now, he's naming names and he's saying it's this general who's trying to assassinate me. And he's saying it's some elements within the army. And I don't know if this is true, but I can tell you one thing, that this guy, without a shadow of a doubt, they are trying everything to bar him from holding public office and to bar him from running in this year's election, because he would easily win. If you want the will of the people to be implemented, why not call snap elections? Because the vote of no confidence last year, came out of the blue. So you got rid of the prime minister, but give the people a choice. Give the people a choice. Why won't they let Pakistan vote? Imran Khan, he said at the time that the Americans also want to get rid of him. There was a letter that he wanted to publish, and the High Court in Islamabad sealed it, prevented it. Said it's not. He's not allowed to publish it because he the prime minister, it's classified. He wants to publish it, and they're saying no, you're not allowed to. So he wasn't even allowed to declassify his own document, which was basically a threat sent to him by the Americans that if you don't do this and that, we're going to get rid of you one way or another. And no prime minister in Pakistan, not a single prime minister in Pakistan's history, has been able to serve their full term of 5 years. It's insane. It's like they either get assassinated, they get screwed out by vote of no confidence, like in Imran Khan's case. Just, for whatever reason, they just never finish the term. Not because they don't want to, but because the situation is so tense, and there's always a real power struggle. Now, Imran Khan, he doesn't come from a powerful political family like Bhutto or Shahbaz. He's viewed, they used to call him Mr. Clean because he's a common man. Obviously his cricket success makes him he gives him movie star status, and he's very popular. But the fact that he comes from, a humble background, he doesn't come from some elite family, he doesn't come from a political dynasty, and he wanted to, clean up the government. They call him Mr. Clean. And so, I think it's disgusting that they're calling him, corrupt and all this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous and fabricated. Why? How come none of these cases appeared when he was prime minister or before? They're coming out now because they want to block him from winning the election. Pure and simple. And I always remind you, one of the reasons why the Americans want to get rid of him is because he started criticizing the war on terror. Remember Pakistan, they lost 20,000 people, 20,000 Pakistanis killed in the war on terror. Pakistan, one way or another, was dragged into the war on terror, and the Americans killed a ton of Pakistanis, and civilians. And he came out and criticized them for that. He said, we helped you in the war on terror, we were your allies, and you just screwed us and killed a ton of our civilians. And the other thing is that the day of the invasion, when the Russians went into Ukraine last year, where was Imran Khan? He was in Moscow. I don't think he knew that was going to happen. And he came out and said, I found myself in Moscow the day this was happening. But he still, he decided to buy tons of wheat and gas and so on. And, even afterwards, he refused to sanction the Russians. He understands we're transitioning to a multipolar world. And, Pakistan is it's a beautiful, beautiful country. I love it. And I wish for calm, and I wish for, the people to have their say, because, and by extension for him to be reelected, because he was four people in the government decided that he shouldn't be the prime minister, and 70%, as he said, according to the latest opinion polls, want him to be the prime minister. Is this a democracy or not? Pakistan is a democracy, and they need to let the people have their say. period. I worry about this guy's safety. I really worry. But, you know, you have to consider he survived an assassination attempt, an ousting. Every single case that they arrest him for, he's given bail. You know, alhamdulillah, you know, he's safe. So, you know, God wants to protect this man. He's definitely protecting this man. I'll tell you that. Here, let me actually play you the rest of the clips since we're watching.
Mr. Khan, you've spoken about the street protests that were sparked by your arrest last week. Will you be calling for calm among your supporters to avoid further violence, or are you encouraging people to protest?
Look, the protest took place when they saw me being abducted from the precincts of the High Court by the army. That's why the protest took place.
Yeah, you know, I hate this stuff where they start accusing. This is exactly what his opponents want. They want his entire movement to be stained, to be portrayed as violent.
No protest right now. There is no public disorder. But what is happening is that there's a crackdown, unprecedented crackdown taking place. I again repeat, my entire senior leadership is in jail. They get bail from court. As they come out of the court, they again get rearrested. There are women who've been arrested. A lot of the women living in awful conditions because it's extremely hot there. And unfortunately, you know, right now it is a reign of terror we are facing.
Mr. Khan, I'd like to ask you
right now.
I'd like to ask you, if I may, about the dozens of cases that have been brought against you in recent months, mostly on charges of corruption, but there's also terrorism, contempt of court. I'd like to hear from you. Do you deny all of them?
Man, you can't even keep up. I swear to God, this is my job. I'm trying to keep track of what's happening so I can report to you. I lost count. I gave up. I just gave up. Every hour there's a new case against him. You know, they're handing them out like you know, poker chips or something. You know, okay, here's maybe they'll give him, maybe they'll charge him with jaywalking next, or, you know, littering or something, and loitering as well.
There are 150 cases on me.
Jesus.
Out of those 150 cases, 4 were when I was in jail. When I was inside the jail, there were 4 more criminal cases against me. There are 40 terrorism cases against me. 15 criminal cases in one day. Even a hardened criminal could not commit 15 crimes in a day. So
40 charges of terrorism. You know, there are people in Guantanamo Bay who have never even been charged with terrorism, which is actually extremely sad, but kind of, you know, it goes to show you how obscene the situation is in both, of course, right? I mean, they abuse people in Guantanamo Bay. It's beyond torture. It's something else. It's so evil. But even those quote unquote suspected terrorists never charged, and he's hit with 40 terrorists. Get out of here! Come on. Well, what is this?
There are 2 corruption cases which are being contested. So I mean, as someone who's been known in this country for 50 years, never committed one crime, certainly in the last few months, he's had 150 cases. No one believes this. People know me in this country for 50 years.
You have accused the country's military chief of being behind your last arrest, and you've also accused a senior general of being involved in a plan to kill you. These, of course, are serious accusations. Do you have evidence that supports these?
Yo, man. Do you see this kind of framing? It's like, we're going to smear you and make you look guilty. Why doesn't she ask the people and the people hitting him, slapping him with these charges, if they have any evidence for these allegations of terrorism and corruption and this and that? Why does he have to prove his innocence? They're the ones who have to prove that he's guilty. It's not the other way around. You know, and he does have evidence against those people. And when it was like in the case of the letter that he got, the High Court forbid him from even releasing it. Man. So, you know, here she's like, do you have evidence against those generals? And then before it's like, well, you know, you've been accused of these things. Prove your innocence. Instead of, you know, asking the courts whether they have any evidence against Imran Khan. They always do this when they want to smear someone. Now look, maybe I'm misreading her. But this sounds way too familiar. They do this with Assange. They do this with anyone that they're trying to, they try to make you look guilty, and they basically just repeat the same smears, and it's obscene because Imran Khan is innocent. They have no evidence against him. That's why he's released on bail the whole time. There are 40 terrorism charges against him. Would you release a suspected terrorist? 40 cases of terrorism against him. Would you release them on bail? Obviously, all of this is crap. I mean, it's the framing that they have in the Western press sometimes. And I know in Britain we have a very specific way of interviewing people, which sounds like this exact nasty crap that I'm saying, which it's very challenging. Even if you agree with the person you're interviewing, you got to go, you got to be really mean and tough with them. Too often it comes across as, repeating the smears against the person. And I think there's a better way to approach this stuff.
The senior military intelligence officer was involved in my assassination attempt. I preempted it. I warned everyone that this is going to happen. When it did happen, I was lucky to be alive. 12 people got bullet wounds, one died, and they would not let me register a case. It was my fundamental right that the suspects who were involved, I should have registered a case so they could be investigated. They never even allowed an investigation. So how am I going to bring my evidence forward? And whatever evidence was coming through a joint investigation committee, they sabotaged it. So how am I going to bring my evidence in public? And as for the charge of the army chief, well, the army who picked me up from the High Court illegally, ruled by the Supreme Court.
Just to make sure you guys understood that point, what he's referring to, he was already in jail, and the army came in and grabbed him from the jail and moved him to a different location. And then the Supreme Court ruled that second arrest while he was in jail was illegal. I mean, this is it's almost comical. You wouldn't even see this stuff in a movie. It's so ridiculous. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
The orders to the army comes right from the top. So one man takes the decision.
Mr. Khan, your country finds itself in a political crisis right now. How do you see?
Look, man, she's asking him what the solution is. Let the people have elections. Let them have their say. Give them the right to express their will through the democratic process. Give them elections. They refused to do that when he was calling for snap elections right after he was ousted. He was right to call for snap elections because you just removed the prime minister, the most popular politician in the country. So a bunch of people are conspiring. And again, they did this clean. I agree. They did it clean. They did it by the book. They did it legally, and they ousted him. Fair play. But give him the elections. Let the people, if not for Imran Khan, let the people decide. No, can't do that. No, here's a terrorism charge. Here's a contempt of court charge. Here's a jaywalking charge. Here's an eating ice cream too fast charge. You punched a toddler as well. They're going to come up with they're going to come up with everything. He's going to have 1 million cases against him by the end of the year. I mean, it's obscene. It's comical. Come on. Let the man live. Leave him be and let him resume his premiership and return to the office that he was elected to hold, because the people support him. That's a fact. You can't change that.